Hey guys, my name is Sabrina and I make pottery here on this channel, and today I wanted to show you how I made this lidded jar at my house in case you are quarantined at home and have decided to learn how to hand build. Then this video is for you. Or if you've ran out of other YouTube videos to watch, then this one's also for you. But I hope everyone is doing everything they can to stay safe and also sane. If you want to subscribe to my channel for more pottery related content, you can definitely do that. And if you enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and a comment down below. And yeah, I hope you enjoy watching, and I'm gonna stop rambling, and this is everything that you're gonna need. So to start, you can use the wire tool to cut some slices of clay off the big old hunk you ordered, and then you can use your can or your hands to roll that out, making sure it's even. Try to go for maybe 1/4 of an inch. And then my can conveniently could be used as a template, so I'm just going to use that to cut out the top and bottom of my jar, and then I'll roll out the scraps and use that to cut out the rectangle that I'll use for the side of the jar. Add a little bit of water to the clay and then use your gift card to gently scrape the surface. This will make it more flexible and also get rid of any air bubbles that might be in the clay. And then I'm just going to make sure that my rectangle fits on my bottom and see if I want to make it any shorter. So now you want to make any alterations to your pieces, and yeah, just always checking to make sure that it works as you go. I'm good with that. And then just to show you, this is kind of the shape that we're going for. So then I will want to connect my pieces. So to do that, I'm going to really go in with my pin tool and scruff up the edge of my circle and the edge of my side. Anywhere that those clay pieces are going to be connected, I want to create some really rough scratches. And then I'm gonna put those scratches together and just gently press. And then I noticed on my side I didn't actually have enough clay to complete the wall. So I just cut off some clay and kind of added it, doing the same method of scratching and then pressing. And then you really want to go in with your finger and really think about squeezing those pieces together, I guess. Obviously you want to be gentle because clay is relatively fragile at this stage. But you really want to think about joining those pieces together. If your clay isn't connected well enough, then it's very likely that it'll crack once it dries or after it gets fired. So what you can also do, especially on the inside, to really enforce those bonds is just roll out a little coil of clay using your fingers and then scratch that up, scratch up the inner seam of your clay piece, and you can kind of fill in that crack with your clay coil, and then go in with the wooden angled tool or your finger and really smooth that out so that you can't see any of the seams on there. So now what I'm doing is just going and taking my lid and setting it on there to see if, it's gonna fit alright. And so I decided that I actually needed to bring in my jar a little bit, so I'm just gonna cut a dart. So just a little triangle in the side, and then I will rough up the insides of that triangle, and then same process, just squeeze those together and really smooth it out on the outside using my fingers, and just make sure that it's really smooth. You can also go in with some extra clay and really fill in that crack if you need to. But just really make sure you're squeezing and compressing the clay. That is going to be the most important thing to prevent you from getting any cracks. So to finish our lid, we're just going to add a small coil around the inside so that the lid will be a little bit more secure inside of the jar. So we're just going to go in just slightly from the outside and scratch up a little circle and also roll out a nice long coil. Scratch up one side of that coil and then just go ahead and press that into those scratches that you made on the lid. And then you're going to want to use your fingertips or use the wooden angled tool and really smooth those edges out and make sure that you can't see any of the seams from where your little ring was added. And then you can set it on your jar, see if it fits. So yeah, just kind of checking it out, seeing if you have to add any clay, take any away. And then you can add a piece of plastic to your lid and just set that on the pot and let it dry for a bit. So what I decided I wanted to do now was add some cute little handles. So I rolled out another coil and I'm gonna add some water to the coil and just kind of use my fingertips to really apply some pressure and compress that. That's going to allow me to curve my clay without getting any major cracks in it. So I'm just gonna cut maybe like an 1.5 inch piece and just kind of smooth that out with my fingers and round that out to create sort of a little handle. Scratch that up, scratch out my handle, really press those together and smooth that out. That's really all you need to do with hand building, is make sure that you have good connections and that everything is smooth. That's going to prevent you from getting any cracks and from whatever you're making from falling apart, so it's definitely important. So then you can let it dry for quite a bit, and once it's dried, you want it to still be like wet, but you don't want it to be quite as fragile. So once it feels a little bit sturdier, you can go in with a gift card and just kind of scrape the sides of it. That's going to remove any like big chunks that are hanging off. And then you can go in with a damp sponge and using a bit of pressure you can just smooth out the sides of it so that it looks a little bit more finished. This is one thing that I didn't really do when I very first started doing pottery. And looking back at my first pieces, like a lot of them would have been pretty okay if I had just gone in and smoothed them out a bit. So I would definitely recommend this step if you want your pieces to look nice. So yeah, and then I can kind of move it around a little bit gently if I feel like it's like slanting in one direction or anything. You want to check the lid again, make sure it still fits, make sure you don't need to change anything, because at this point the clay is still wet enough that you can move things, change things, but after this we're going to let it dry up, so you're going to want to make sure you're done with all that. So I did decide I wanted to add a little strip on the front so that I could actually label my jar. I'm planning on using this in my kitchen to keep salt, because right now I don't really have anywhere to put my salt, so I'm gonna make a little label on the front that says salt. So I'm just gonna scratch that rectangle up and yeah, just press it onto the front of my jar, go in with the sponge, really smooth out those edges. I like to use my fingertips on the inside to just kind of stabilize the pot so that I'm not accidentally destroying it. You want to be aggressively gentle if that's possible. And then yeah, just making sure that my lid fits. And the last step you want to do before you let it dry all the way is sign it. So once your pot has dried completely, this step is optional, but I went in with some sandpaper and just smoothed out the top of it, just so that my lid would fit a little bit nicer. And then you can go in with some underglaze if you want, or if you don't have underglaze, you can fire it and go in with acrylic paint afterwards, and that should work too. But I'm going to use underglaze, and I'm going to go and apply some white for the background. Anytime you're using underglaze, you want to try and apply 3 layers of whatever color you're using for a fully opaque application. So I'm just going to try and do that, and then I'm going to go in with a really small brush and some black and just freehand some letters there. Like I said, if you don't have underglaze, you can fire it first and then glaze it, and then at the very end you could just write on it, and that would be totally fine. Now that I have underglazed it, there's really nothing else I can do besides let it dry all the way and then wait for the studios to open back up so I can get it fired and glaze it and then use it. Until then, I'll be making videos at home and trying to be safe, and I hope you guys do the same. And I hope you enjoyed watching and that you'd like and comment down below, and that's all I have to say. Bye guys!